There is an astrological influence that we are experiencing, which started in 2018 and will continue up till 2027, and that is Chiron in Aries. And Chiron is said to not actually be a planet, but rather an asteroid. It has an energy of its own, which I'm going to be talking about, as well as how it influences us. So firstly, the name Chiron is named after a centaurus, half god, half horse. And when you think about that, that is like representing half animal as in half human, half god, therefore half superior or half spiritual. And it brings to mind the lower self and the higher self and bridging those two. And the fact that it has this symbol really gives me the deeper intuitive feeling of that we are like halves, we are hybrids as we come here to Earth, and that we are spiritual beings encapsulated in a human body. And our human body has limitations, and along with that body is our personality, the mind, the ego, and so on, which can be a major drawback, but also it has its own gifts. But we also have our soul, our higher aspects of self. And so the key is, how do we bridge the two worlds? How do we walk this world as a human with also a sense of consciousness and God connection? So one of Chiron's great gifts, when you think of it this way, is to destruct or deconstruct our issues by revealing them through people, situations, revealing how old wounds and traumas from this lifetime, from our childhood, from past lifetimes, is still in effect today, or how it affects us in our present life. And it will come and go in patterns. And so Chiron's job is to bring this up to us and bring it up for us to look at and work through. So Chiron in Aries is really about our so-called identity and how our identity is expressed in this world and in this current age, and how it affects us, because sometimes our identity is not really our own, or not fully our own, or we've assumed an identity according to culture or family or tradition, society, religion, expectations, social conditioning, parental conditioning, or whatever. And so our identities over time can become compromised, polluted, or unreal. They could be real to a certain extent, but carry elements of uncertainty or inauthenticity also, because we are hiding our wounds and don't feel brave enough to show our true selves, which from past actions or non-actions has caused pain and harm. And so Chiron is known as the wounded healer. Wounded healer. See how those words resonate with yourself personally? And so with Chiron being in Aries, Aries being the first sign of the zodiac, Aries brings about a sense of newness, individuality, passion, impulse, instinct, action, warrior spirit, all those kind of positive, fiery attributes. And the feeling of Chiron as being the wound shows up in the way of, how is it that you have tried to move forward start again, become renewed or a new person, or expressed your passion, your drive, ideas, or moved into action, and yet at some level you've been thwarted by your wounds, which have sent you down into a downward spiral where you've started to question yourself, how you feel deep inside, your sense of self-worth, value being squelched, and your confidence takes a big nosedive. And so that can be an example of CHIRON activating in the Aries energy, and this kind of combination of striving and moving ahead, and being the individual, expressing yourself for who you are, and then wounds coming up. And so those wounds often represent the past things that you are still needing to heal from, even if you've worked on them over the years. They come up during this kind of energy to show you that and reveal to you these parts of yourself which cannot resolve or express themselves in their entirety because of this past wounding. And so it is there to, it rises up to be acknowledged, processed, and released, so you can break free and move forward in a higher, newer way where you can express yourself, you can have a more truer, authentic identity, or you can be less triggered from old wound patterning. So when you want to work with your self-awareness and work through the shadow aspects, it is important to realize that the areas where we feel wounded, which can be expressed in a number of ways, such as feeling ashamed, lonely, broken, low self-esteem and worth, inadequate, lack of confidence, lack of knowing or being able to feel like you can express who you are and what your identity is, how you are unique. When you are self-aware of these wounds, we are able to transition and work through them so that we can confront them in a way that is so deep and meaningful and powerful and connected to our higher soul, our higher self, something that we felt that deep connection to when we were younger at times, or when we were feeling sad, or any of those emotions or feelings I talked about previously. And you link in, and so this is why a lot of people have difficulty in going back, because they have to confront or go back, journey back to a place, a space where you were at that time, which can be difficult. And other than that, it could also be a fear of going there again, a fear of seeing something that you've conveniently placed the blinders on because it's too confronting, it's too difficult. And so what happens over the years is that energy of denial or hesitation, resistance, not wanting to go back, to go there, builds up, builds up, builds up. And then it gets to the point that those blinds that you have drawn, the curtains you've drawn, have become so heavy, so dusted, so draped, that it carries in you like a heaviness and a burden that you feel you cannot escape. And then the feeling inside you can be of a heavy depression, or feeling out of sorts, stress, overburden, overwhelm, or just pure anxiety, panic attack. And because Aries is a fire sign and headstrong, anger can rear its ugly head. It can become very intense. You can feel very angsty, curt, short-tempered, and spit the dummy, so to speak. So one of the gifts of CHIRON in this way is it helps you to let go and release it, so long as you're tuned in, before it goes up another level, before it gets out of hand, and before everything starts snowballing in an even worse direction. With all this compacting energy, this can make you feel completely stifled, blocked, trapped, like you're suffocating. It can form energy blockages in your body. Particularly, it can build up between the heart, chest, and throat chakra area. But it could arise in other parts of your bodies too. For example, if you have mother wounding, that can be on the left side of your body, or father wounding on the right. And the angels are just showing me now also with females in the hip area, especially with the female wounding, but also other areas too. They're showing me with the masculine side, headaches, neck, back, that kind of thing. Okay, so when we're in that downward spiral, or we feel our identity is compromised, we feel like we are nobody. We are not someone enough to be regarded. We feel disregarded, dislocated. We feel like we don't belong. So there's this that feeling of unbelonging can be also a core deep wound related to our upbringing, childhood, home, or even ancestry. So it is important to note here the angels are bringing through a feeling of ancestral lineage as being a part of our wounding also, and that we are not always fully conscious of that, or it comes through down the family line. And so that is also why it is important to face our wounds, to face our, however you want to refer to it, the people or the perpetrators, or obviously as long as it's safe, situations, to go back there in order to also not just heal yourself, but also ultimately your family, as in your children and the next generations, because you're healing from an old multi-generational lineage on two sides, both the maternal and the paternal. And this is all the angels are showing me now. It's like it comes through your bloodstream and it goes through your veins and it runs through your body and your DNA, through your cells. And so when we heal in a higher way, our cells can awaken. I'm also hearing dormant cells, that there are dormant cells as well. When the light comes in through the acknowledging and the awareness and the releasing and the healing, when that light comes in, then something is activated, and dormant cells are activated, as well as, and I'm just receiving a sort of flush of emotional feelings, so as well as the emotional wounds, that emotional energy is lifted, that cloud is lifted, and it allows space. So they're showing me cells being blocked, trapped, suffocating, literally within your body at a microscopic level, and you are experiencing that in a macrocosmic way. So it is all interlinked and intertwined. So therefore, your outer expression is a reflection of the inner expression, of that core of those cells that are otherwise feeling trapped and bloated, they're saying, bloated with the energy of pain. And that they're saying if not looked at, it will stockpile, it will grow bigger to the point of overwhelm, stress, physical aches and pains, body issues, and and for some at the worst degrees, the resentment and the build-up of feelings can lead to more severe illnesses such as cancer, tumours, that kind of thing. And of course, that is not a warning for anyone in particular. So I'm very careful about how I give information, especially when medical, but you understand the principle here. So that would be for some. For example, breast cancer, through mother wounding. On top of this, we have karmic wounds, and these wounds are deeply embedded in our consciousness and our DNA also, on top of the ancestry. And karmic wounds originate from past lifetimes, which may or may not be connected to your ancestry or other past lifetimes that you've had. And so these wounds carry through, and they are often expressed in early childhood or in our teen years or young adulthood. And then they can be revisited time and time again in moments of crisis or in moments of healing, or whenever the energies are coming up to look back to that, when change happens in your life or when you feel compromised. Also, something important to note is that when you are around the age of 50, CHIRON returns in your personal chart. Now, I'm not an astrologer. I'm interpreting this energy from an intuitive point of view, but I feel that it's an important note, because if you're of that age, have a look into that, because it is very significant, because at this is a very sort of midpoint important time of your life. It's a very important number. And they show me now, like golden years, it is important to process and relieve yourself of these wounds to whatever degree you can at the time being, in order to really make the most of that life transition. So your awareness is gold. When Chiron is in Aries, it is speaking to you through your inner recesses, through your core. And it is allowing you to acknowledge and look into where you haven't been able to express yourself in your fullness, where your identity has been compromised, or where you've sort of segued because you've steered off course from your core, from what is true to you personally, how you have sacrificed yourself for others, how you have turned your head the other way, not only from situations and people, but also, most profoundly, the angels tell me right now, from yourself, where you've looked the other way. This energy is about what has kept you at bar from achieving your potential, from reaching your heights, from being the truest, most authentic, most powerful version of you. And so power comes into this because it can become very disempowering when our wounds are inflated and infecting our daily lives. It's important to have a look at what has been percolating inside of you. Tackle these issues rather than run, scream and hide. Scream if you have to. And also, if you have been nudged to break away from certain people, situations, drop old habits, certain crowds of people, or your old herd that you don't resonate with anymore, anything that allows you also to express yourself more freely and truly, and forge new forms of connections, they are all healing remedies. Be brave, dig deep, look into these wounds, really go in there and discover what it is that has been blocking you, and allow that core essence of who you are in divine truth to come through. Allow it, because I feel some hesitation, I feel sadness, feel that energy now as you listen, but allow that true essence of who you are to shine through, and allow yourself to shine, because many of us have dimmed our lights out of fear, or for whatever reason we've made ourselves less than rather than more than. And you are more rather than less in truth. We are so much more. So I encourage you to really take the time, kick back, take a walk, do some journaling. That is a really deep, powerful, profound process, which is really therapeutic and helpful. You can also just write it down in the form of lists if you don't like to do the journaling. You could also relax, meditate, and just allow the wounds to come up into your consciousness and allow yourself to process them, and give it time. Give it time. It's not going to happen overnight, and it will be different for everybody. Once you acknowledge them, you're able to move forward with a greater sense of self, moreover, a greater sense of expression, identity, higher self, that bridge between the lower and upper worlds that I mentioned earlier forms, and you at the center are able to, from a much more integrated and balanced perspective, move forward with a greater sense of ease and connection to your truth, dignity, integrity. So a lot of this is about integrity too, because integrity is often thwarted when we're living from the lower levels or the lower realms, our lower self, when we are in that downwards spiral. So it is important to reflect and contemplate, and also address any fears, worries, and concerns that come up as well as hesitation and resistance. Where the old you may have been sort of falling down into these patterns of victimhood and suffering, and now this Aries energy, because previously Chiron was in Pisces, but this Aries energy, right, has this more of a powerful kind of individual assessment energy, where you can look at your ego and identity, and in a much more active way. At least the energy is there for you to assess yourself, so that you can move through this energy and utilize it, because it has a powerful healing bonus for us, because it is there to allow us to go there. So therefore it offers an up level. And when you look at it from a higher perspective, that's exactly what it does. It up levels you, takes you away from your pain and the pain points, and then you're able to see how that sort of trickles off and connects to all these other dots and triggers in your life and other relationships and life situations. And so you also, by working through this, you develop a sense of wisdom. You're up-leveling your sense of consciousness and wisdom of self. And so from that time forward, when any wounds come up again to heal or rise through, you'll be doing it from a place of more healing, a higher standpoint than before, and you're able to compare the difference, because it can often come and go in cycles. So that brings up the next aspect of this influence, which is when it's in retrograde. So, for example, in 2021, between July and December, to be exact, July 11 and December 15th, it is in retrograde, and this signifies a greater heightened opportunity. It opens up a window, a doorway, a portal, so to speak, where you can really go back on a journey of the soul, back down to the original you at the core, as human with a soul self, and how your journey progressed throughout your personal timeline and often felt like it degressed rather than progressed. But the idea is you're revisiting yourself and your soul and what was important to you, what was coming up for you, who that true person was inside that suffered, that struggled, the issues and situations that came up. And as painful and intense as it can be, it's really encouraging you to go there, to pay attention, to move through the discomfort, to face uncomfortable truths so that you can move forward on your path with greater healing, greater truth, self-discovery, awareness, and ultimately transformation. Because that's what healing is all about, and that's what we're here to do. And the more that you heal, the more you up-level, the more you transform, the more you shift, and the more you are able to fully access and activate the energies, the higher vibrational energies that are coming onto Earth. And I feel that really strongly right now, that are here to activate, support, and guide us, but also to empower, encourage, connect us, and on a grander level, awaken us and help us move upwards, to ascend, so to speak, to raise our consciousness, our vibration, and to up-level so that we become higher versions of ourselves, more connected and aligned to our soul, to the divine, to our pure origination, our pure soul essence. And so that we can also avoid this constant reincarnation cycle where we are constantly coming back in, relearning the lessons, reliving the pain and trauma, and going through it time and time again like an old broken record. So the angels say it's time now to change that old broken record, to fix those broken tracks where your train has disheveled, derailed, and to not just smooth things over like a band-aid and not address them personally, but to rather go in there, go deep, discover why it is broken, what the broken pieces are, and to put it together in a way that not only allows that track to house a rolling train of your life again and again and again, but also so that it's stronger. It is more modern in a way. So the angels are laughing now, like you are modernifying yourself. And you're upgrading, they're saying, like an iPhone upgrades. And that's what these energies provide. And to find out the dates for when CHIRON is retrograde between 2021 all the way up through past 2026, then check out the link below.